नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. Dandavat pranam all devotees. Dandavat pranam Nikhil Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी. धन्यवाद. प्रणाम माताजी. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. So we will continue from where we left off in the last class. I'm just sharing my screen. Mataji, you should be able to see my screen now. Mataji, you must be able to see. Mataji?
Yes, we can see. Yeah.
So yesterday we finished 1.9.27, wherein Bhishma Dev was explaining the Dana Dharma, Raja Dharma, Moksha Dharma, Stri Dharma, and Bhagavad Dharma to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Yudhishthir Maharaj had inquired what are the duties of a king, and to his query, initially Bhishma Dev first defined the distinction of classes, the distinction of castes and orders of life in terms of qualifications of the person. Then he described detachment with counteraction and attachment with interaction. Then he described the various dharmas, and we'll continue from 28th verse now. धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षां च सहोपायान् यथा मुने नानाख्यानेतिहासेषु वर्णयामास तत्त्वति तत्वित् तत्त्ववित्. So translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history, for he was himself well acquainted with the truth. Purport. Incidents mentioned in the Vedic literature, such as Puranas, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, are factual historical narrations that took place some time in the past, although not in any chronological order. Such historical facts, being instructive for ordinary men, were assorted without chronological references. Besides that, they happen on different planets, nay, in different universes, and thus the description of narrations is sometimes measured by three dimensions. We are simply concerned with the instructive lessons of such incidents, even though they are not in order by our limited range of understanding. Bhishma Dev described such narrations before Maharaj Yudhishthir in reply to his different questions. So very beautifully, Prabhupada has written that when we try to understand the scriptural impulse, the purports of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and various Puranas, we should be looking out for the lessons that are there in those incidents, and not look for any chronological order. And this is especially true in given the modern age, because the information is available at a single click. And if we try to search when did the Mahabharata happen, when did certain incidents in the past happen, there are really good links in the websites. There are various websites which are tracking these incidents. And um, if we just do this dry philosophical search for what was the timeline of Mahabharata, what is the timeline of Ramayana, we might not hit any validative results, and this might easily make us think that these are basically mythological stories. These are not mythological stories, as Prabhupada has written very clearly over here, that these are actual historical incidents which have taken place in the past. But We have to understand this very, very clearly, that these incidents need not take place in this earth, need not take place in this universe as well. These could be taking place in multiple universes. And the modern science, the modern physics also confirms this. There is a theory called as the many worlds theory, the multiple the multi universe theory, the multiverse theory. These theories, they basically, these are all theories. Again, we cannot prove that this theory is right or not wrong, but mathematics says that this is right. This is because our senses, our understanding, our intelligence is limited. We are on a very, very small planet, a very, very insignificant planet, amongst countless number of planets. There are countless number of stars given in the Milky Way, and Milky Way is one of the galaxies, and there are innumerable such galaxies in this universe, and this universe is one of the innumerable universes coming out of Mahavishnu. So we should be very, very careful of not trying to use our intelligence, our limited intelligence, to make a chronological historical timeline of all these Puranas, Mahabharat, and Ramayanas. This is because this could have happened in various other universes. This is still happening, as Brahma is confirming in Brahma Samhita, that Lord is performing his Nitya Leela in Golok Vrindavan, in the various other in the various other planets in Golok Vrindavan, in the various other Vaikuntha Lokas, and also in some other universe, in some place in the universe, there is Ramayana taking place, there is Narsimha Leela taking place. So all these imports are from all these universes. And Bhishma Dev is very, very, very aware of this fact, and that is why he is considered to be authoritative in describing the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life. And he is citing from all these history. What happens when we advance in devotion? We can see this in the example of Narad Muni. He is the only jiva who has been empowered to visit various lokas, various universes, and he can come and cite the stories that is taking place in various other worlds. So even he is a Mahajan, and all the Mahajans, they are aware of this fact. Can come to the next verse. धर्मं प्रवदतस्तस्य सकाल प्रत्युपस्थितः यो योगिनश्चन् यो योगिनश्चन्द्रमृत्योर्वाञ्छितस्तुतरायणः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Bhishma Dev was describing the occupational duties, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. Purport: the perfect yogi or mystics can leave their body, material body, at their own sweet will at a suitable time, and go to a suitable planet desired by them. In Bhagavad Gita 8.24, it is said that self realized souls who have exactly identified themselves with the interest of the Supreme Lord can generally leave the material body during the time of the fire god's effulgence and when the sun is in the northern hemisphere, and thus achieve the transcendental sky. In the Vedas, these times are considered auspicious for quitting the body, and taken they are taken advantage of by the expert mystics who have perfected the system. Perfection of yoga means attainment of such supermental states as to be able to leave the material body as desired. Yogis can also reach any planet within no time without a material vehicle. The yogis can reach the highest planetary system within a very short time, and this is impossible for the materialists. Even attempting to reach the highest planet will take millions of years at a speed of millions of miles per hour. This is a different science, and Bhishma Dev knew well how to utilize it. He was just waiting for the suitable moment to quit his material body, and the golden opportunity arrived when he was instructing his noble grandsons, the Pandavas. He thus prepared himself to quit his body before the exalted Lord Sri Krishna, the pious Pandavas, and the great sages headed by Bhagavan Vyasa, etc., all great souls. So in the eighth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right from the verse number 5, Antakalicha Mameva, right up to the end of the chapter, Lord is describing to Arjuna the various ways in which one can leave the body to attain various other different kinds of results. And in 8.24, it is written, Agnir Jyotiriha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam Tat Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahma Vidojana. Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of fiery God in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So Bhishma Dev was waiting for the Uttarayan to take place, and now that the Uttarayan had occurred, Bhishma Dev, he basically used his benediction of Ichha Mrityu and was preparing himself to leave the body. And from now onwards, he will stop his instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj and will start his praises, his prayers to Lord Sri Krishna. So it is written over here that there is an auspicious moment, and yogis basically prefer these times and these circumstances to leave one's body. And Maharaj Bhishma was is one of the yogi. His entire life has been of sacrifice. His entire life he has practiced the principle of Yukta Vairagi, in which, although he is in the clan of Kauravas, he is basically performing his duty for the pleasure of Lord Sri Krishna. His being in Kauravas, some people might comment that there might be many scholars who will be commenting that he is basically following his political dharma. He is basically he is basically very patriotic to his own clan. But these are all the inferior dharmas. He was practicing the superior dharma of being devoted to the Lord, and since he wanted to see the Lord as an adversary, and he wanted to see that he wanted to basically show to the world that Lord can break his own vow to protect his devotee. He was basically in the Kaurava clan. One more question can arise in this context, that Bhishma Dev was given the benediction of Ichha Mrityu by his father Shantanu. So we know this in the case of Hiranyakashipu as well, that when Hiranyakashipu had asked for the benediction of immortality from Brahmaji, Brahmaji said that we can only give that benediction that one has. So if say for example, if someone asks me for 100 crore rupees, I will not be able to give that because I don't have it. So, when we know that benedictions are only given if one possesses that quality, how was Shantanu able to give the benediction when when he himself did not have the benediction of Ichha Mrityu? So, this story, the story of Bhishma Dev having a very long life, comes in his previous in his previous incarnation as one of the Vasus. He was due as one of the Vasus, and he had basically he tried to kidnap the Surabhi cow of Vasishtha, and when basically he failed to do that. When he was not able to get the Surabhi cow, he kidnapped it, and Vasishtha Muni basically he cursed him so that all the Ashtavasus, he cursed all the Ashtavasus that they will appear in the material world because they were behaving like normal human beings of trying to kidnap something. And because View was the chief, he made the plan. Uh, all the seven other Vasus will be having very short lives, whereas the eighth one will be having an extended life. So the extended life was guaranteed for Bhishma Dev because of the curse, and it needed some. some patra, it needed some instrument, so that he is able to live, that extended life. And that instrument was Shantanu. And Lord also wanted to see Bhishma Dev. He wanted Yudhishthir Maharaj to learn the Rajadharma from Bhishma Dev, and that is why the benediction for Bhishma Dev came through Shantanu, although Shantanu was himself not having the Ichha Mrityu benediction. The next verse, 30th verse. तदोपसंहृत्य गिरः सहस्रणीर् विमुक्तसङ्गं मन आदिपुरुषे कृष्णे लसत्पीतपटे चतुर्भुजे पुरस्थिते मीलित धारयत्. Translation. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking, and being completely freed from bondage, from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who stood before him, four handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Purport. In the momentous hour of leaving his body, material body, Bhishma Dev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. Again, Prabhupada has written in italics, he's pressing on this point. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life. Antakalicha mameva. Therefore, if anyone is absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he is sure to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.5 to 15. In the fifth verse, the translation is, and whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Antakalicha mameva. Whatever state of mind one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without any fail. Yam yam vapi swaram bhavam. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed upon me, you will attain me without any doubt. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Parth Arjuna, is sure to reach me. The ninth verse. One who meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond this material nature. This is the ninth verse. So this is Kavim Puranam. Then the 10th verse. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows, and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the 10th verse. Prayana kale manasa chalena. 11th, persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. The 12th verse. The yogic system is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Ananya Cheta Satatam Yo Mam Smarati Nityashaha. And 15th verse, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis and devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. Sri Bhishma Dev attained the perfection of quitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna, the object of his attention, personally present at the time of death. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He wanted to see Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performances of yogic principles. Simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishma Dev was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object, and by the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhishma Dev had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. So Bhishma Dev was meditating upon the Lord, and he was basically following what Lord Shri Krishna had earlier told to Arjuna in the 8th chapter, the 10 verses, the 11 verses from 8.5 to 8.15. And Arjuna is basically seeing the practical example of what has been taught. So basically, we use this example we use this example when we teach to college kids. The ideal teaching learning process is basically the teacher teaches in the classroom, and then a practical should be performed to see this, and we are seeing this ideal teaching learning process taking place over here, where Arjuna has been earlier taught by Lord Krishna, and now he is seeing in the example of his grandfather Bhishma Dev following those instructions. And Bhishma Dev very beautifully Prabhupada has written over here that Krishna was the most lovable object of Bhishma Dev, and because of his unflinching love towards the Lord, Lord graced him by being present in front of him at the moment of death. So how glorious is Bhishma Dev that others like for all of us, it is very hard to even think about Lord all the time in the day. And that is why Prabhupada says that we have to keep on chanting the holy name of the Lord, because his instruction is never chant Hare Krishna and never forget about Krishna. So that is because we keep on our mind keeps on running from one place to the other, and controlling the mind is what we are learning in this life, in ISKCON, in this movement, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, in all the Vaishnava Paramparas. All the instructions, all these various uh, literatures that are available, they are basically telling us to fix our mind, to control our mind, to fix our mind onto the lotus feet of the Lord, so that at the time of death it becomes very easy. And we have seen many other examples, many examples of various exalted devotees who were able to do this. Just recently, in the personal example of the passing away of Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, we are able to see that even in that advanced stage of life, even in that in having so many ailments in the body, even while sleeping, he is doing the archana of the Lord. And this is the practical example that whatever we do defines us at the last moment. And Bhishma Dev, because he loved Lord so much, Lord, although he is equipoised as earlier told, he has a little bit inclination towards his devotees, and especially for his most beloved devotees, he practically comes over there and takes them back. And in the translation, it is written that Bhishma Dev was meditating upon Lord Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed. So others are able to see Krishna as the two-handed Krishna, as one of the Yadavas, one of the Vrishnis. But here, Bhishma Dev is, when he is looking towards the Lord, he is able to see his Chaturbhuja form, and this basically tells that Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead, and he can exhibit himself in different ways to different people at the same time in the same place. So the next verse. विशुद्धया धारणया हता शुभ तदीक्षयैवा वाशुगता युद्धश्रमः निवृत्त सर्वेन्द्रियवृत्तिविभ्रमा तुष् तुष्टावजन्यं वृसुजन् जनार्दनम्. Translation and purport, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. The material body is a gift of the material energy, technically called illusion. Identification with the material body is due to the forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord. For a pure devotee of the Lord like Bhishma Dev, this illusion was at once removed as soon as the Lord arrived. Lord Krishna is like the sun, and illusion and the illusory external material energy is like the darkness. In the presence of the sun, there is no possibility that the darkness can stand. Therefore, just on the arrival of Lord Sri Krishna, all material contamination was completely removed, and Bhishma Dev was thus able to be situated by the stopping of the activities of the impure senses in collaboration with matter. The soul is originally pure, and so also the senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. By revival of the contact with the Supreme Pure, Lord Krishna, the senses again become freed from material contaminations. Bhishma Dev attained all these transcendental conditions prior to his leaving the material body because of the Lord's presence. The Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living beings. That is the verdict of all Vedas. He is the supreme and eternity and living entity amongst all the all the eternal living beings. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. And he alone provides all the necessities for all kinds of living beings. Thus, he provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of his great devotee Bhishma Dev, who prayed as follows. So, from the next verse, it will be the prayers of Bhishma Dev, and here very beautifully it is written that the Lord provided all kinds of facilities so that Bhishma Dev is able to live his body uh, in the right situation. He freed himself. He freed Bhishma Dev from the material inauspiciousness. There were so many inauspiciousness, dying in the battlefield, in the bed of arrows. All of these things they can be considered inauspicious. But when the Lord is there, wherever the Lord is there, anything and that is inauspicious becomes auspicious. And here in the case of Bhishma Dev, this example is given. Also we see this that in the case of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that when he appeared, it was basically Chandragrahan. It was full moon, but the full moon shied itself, because when there is a Chandra being born, when the Navadip Chandra is being born, what is the use of this material Chandra? So people might comment, "Oh, taking birth in a lunar eclipse is it's Sutak, it's all of these things will take place." But for Lord, there is nothing inauspicious. He is the supreme auspicious. He is all auspicious. So whenever and wherever Lord comes, wherever Lord appears, that place automatically becomes auspicious. And just by the presence of the Lord, anything which was materially inauspicious completely was removed, and he also relieved Bhishma Dev from all the pains, from all the bodily pains, because Bhishma Dev stopped identifying himself as the body, and he was basically in in the prayerful situation to Lord. So the next verse is the first verse. We'll read the first verse and then we can end the class. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Now, although this is in Anushtup Chandraha, we can sing this. There's a particular meter of singing this. So I'll sing that in that meter. इति मतिरूपकल्पिता वितृष्णा भगवती सात्वत पुङ्गवे विभुम्नि स्वसुखमुपगते क्वचिद्विहर्तुं प्रकृतिमुपेयुषि यद्भवा प्रवाहा. Translation: Bhishmadev said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he also enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending onto the material world, although from him only the material world is created." But because Bhishma Dev was a statesman, the head of the Kuru dynasty, a great general and a leader of the Kshatriyas, his mind was strewn over so many subjects, and his thinking, feeling, and willing were engaged in different matters. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all his powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. So we might ask, why have these three things been given: thinking, feeling, and willing? So these three, generally in our day-to-day lives, what we do is that, or what is it, the circumstances are, sometimes it happens so much, it's happened so that we might think differently, we might feel differently, and we might will differently. And never, very few times that we see are that these three are in unity. So because and it is, and this happens quite often when when we are engaged in activities which are controlled by the modes of passion, the modes of ignorance, that the mind thinks something else, our words do something else, and our body does something else. But and Prabhupada has given example over here that because Bhishma Dev was a Kshatriya, was a statesman, and was he was the head of Kuru, even though he thought something was something was different, was okay, and his feeling was different for that, his willing might not have been according to the other two activities. But now that he has completely engaged himself in the lotus feet of Lord, his thinking and feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects, are now completely onto the Supreme Lord. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all his powers of thinking, willing, and thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is described here as the leader of devotees and all powerful. Although Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, he himself descends to earth to bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. He descends sometimes as Lord Krishna as he is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. Both are leaders of the pure devotee. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desires other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Satvata Janaha. The Lord is the chief amongst such Sattvatas. Bhishma Dev therefore had no other desires. Unless he is purified from all sorts, unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna himself that he gives instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over the material nature, the Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but he never gives the non devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. That is the 10th verse of 10th chapter. That is the difference in dealing by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non devotee. He is the leader of all living beings, as the king of the state rules both over the prisoners and the free citizens. But his dealings are different in terms of devotee and non-devotee. Non-devotee never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case. Although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad. The devotees are above this material goodness and badness. They are progressive on the path of transcendence, and therefore they have no desire for anything material. The devotee also knows Sri Krishna as the original Narayana because Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary portion, appears as Karanadakshay Vishnu, the original source of all material creation. The Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and for them only the Lord descends to the earth and enlivens them. The Lord appears out of his own will. He is not forced by the condition of material nature. He is therefore described here as Vibhu or the Almighty, for he is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. So, Mataji, very beautifully, we have started the first verse. We can stop now. It is already 9:14, and we can continue this. If Amma is able to take the class on Monday, then we can continue this in some time later, or on Monday I'll continue with this, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarubheshcha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavi namaha. If there are no comments or queries, Mataji, we can end the class now.
Very nice class, Prabhuji. Waiting for the next class from you.
Thank you, Mataji.
I think you can end the class. You are the host, I believe.
Yes, Mataji. I'll end the class for everyone, Mataji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.